Are we ready to go? All right, and did you get all the stuff in here for the?
Yep.
Thank you. Casey's not here today. Leah's doing an incredibly good job, but it just we got a few things we just wanted to make sure we were doing correctly. So she's got us taken care of. I was going to totally go all script, but I think since she wasn't here, but I'm going to stay for Leah's sake. I'm going to stay on script and then try to make a few comments afterwards. But I did want to say we do have Matt Coughlin here from the airport. We were going to talk about a couple of things that are going on at the airport, and he is more than happy to answer any questions you may have related to the airport. There's also a variety of other programs, and I think that we're going to talk about, and I would like to at least some point talk about some stuff that's not on here, but we will we'll get to it. Let me make sure my COVID numbers are all in here. Yes. All right. So good. I guess we'll start off with a couple of things that happened last week, starting with the international airport being renamed to the Pensacola Intergalactic Airport. We are headed into that time of Pensacon. We're happy to see that coming forward. I am always shocked at just how many people do come to our community for that event from all over and actually use the airport. But I do think it's one of the things I've flown in and out of there when it has happened. And it's just kind of fun, people to see it. It's kind of a fun thing we do, and I really appreciate the airport kind of playing along with it and making a fun experience. It certainly goes into some of the things we're going to talk about. The international airport, it continues to see success during the pandemic. In addition to bouncing back to pre-COVID passenger numbers, our airport has broken its own record, beating our 2019 numbers by an increase of 4%. From January to December 2001, over 87,000 more passengers passed through Pensacola International Airport as compared to 2019, for a total of over 2.3 million passengers. Not only did Pensacola have a record-breaking year, but it also hailed as one of the lowest of fares in the nation. According to Value Penguin study, which examines fluctuations in airfare since the pandemic struck, the average airfare cost across the nation remained almost 20% lower than they were prior to COVID-19. Two airports, and they talked about two U.S. airports, average cost of departing flights remained the lowest are New Jersey's Newark International and Pensacola International airports, where flight cost passengers 30% less on average than they did pre-COVID. So again, I think it speaks to several of the things that we're doing there. We have more people, we have more flights than we had pre-COVID, we have more airlines than we had pre-COVID, and we have lower prices than we did pre-COVID. So, it wasn't us that said this. This is coming from people that follow the airline industry and what's going on. And again, it's just amazing for me to see where we are. I keep hearing traditionally we've always operated in we were the 100th to 110th busiest airport, and now we're up around 75%. We're number 75 or so, 75, 77 airport. So it just goes to show you several of the things that we're doing. We're not just doing great things at airports, we're also investing a lot in our youth. And I want to highlight two programs that we've started that are doing just that. These are things that traditionally we haven't done in the city, but I do think there are things that we can do and how we can enhance experiences for our students and do great things for them. I want to add our youth council. I continue to be impressed by what I see coming from them. I recently participated in their program as well as the superintendent, Tim Smith, was here as well. The youth council consists of 28 students from Catholic, Pensacola High School, Washington High School, and West Florida High Schools. The goal of this program is to allow our youth to discover how the city functions and to provide hands-on opportunities to work with city staff, community organizations to affect change, and more than anything else, to also develop leadership skills. The Youth Council has had several productive meetings identifying homelessness is the most critical issue facing the community with their initiative. They volunteered 54 hours at opening doors of Northwest Florida to possibly impact our homeless community during the month of January and assisting what Opening Doors is doing. Upcoming events include for our youth council that they will be going to the Capitol in Tallahassee this month and touring the UWF Historic Village here at Pensacola Airport, as well as visiting the Pensacola Village here in Pensacola, as well as visiting the airport and the Port of Pensacola, and finally launching a public awareness campaign related to homelessness in May. So they have been actively involved in getting things done. And again, I think these are things I tried to show Tim that we don't teach students here. We let the school system do that, but we can certainly give them opportunities and enhancement. And I think one of the programs that we're doing that, you would be impressed if you saw the students and what they were doing. I was very impressed by the work that they had done with the homelessness, dealing with homelessness, but I am also very impressed in getting the opportunity to take them to Tallahassee. I know when I was in school, we did that through the public school system. I know they're not able to do that as much these days, but we're very happy we're getting the opportunity to take them there and invest in them and try to create better leaders in our community. One of the other things that we've done is we've partnered with Big Brothers Big Sisters, and I really want to thank all of our departments that have done that. Once a month, they bring 15 students here. They spend time with us. We communicate to them what they can do, and just looking at spending time with them, investing in a friendship, but also showing them opportunities here in their community and jobs that they can do here. They have a number of different departments that have individuals for everything from fire and police to finance, neighborhoods, parks and rec. I mean, everybody that's just about here. I know Amy and David also taking people. We've really taken a number of students under our wing, and this is us trying to, again, invest in our students, and several of our students that may not have had the opportunity to see these things that are out there. We're certainly encouraging them to learn about other things out there, but we would love to see them, if they would, certainly look at public sector careers and what they could do there as well. So very impressed with our staff and very impressed with the students that came through on Friday. This is another program that we're starting that we think is a way we can invest in helping our students and our younger citizens become future leaders and better leaders in what we can do here at the City of Pensacola. We also have selected an arborist. Chris Stoltz has been selected as the new arborist for the City of Pensacola, bringing more than 40 years of arboriculture experience to this newly created position in the city. This role of city arborist, Schultz will be responsible for managing the city's tree ordinance, as well as other tree-related activities, including planting, maintenance, and removal of trees located within the city. Schultz's first day for the City of Pensacola is today, February 7th. In addition to his extensive arboriculture experience, Schultz is one of only 7 International Society of Arboriculture Board Certified Master Arborist / American Society of Consulting Arborists registered consulting arborist in the state of Florida, and he's the only arborist with his credentials in Northwest Florida. So we are certainly excited to have him here working for the City of Pensacola, and again, just another way in which we continue to lead as we go forward. The city is also completing drainage improvements to Cross and 6th Avenue. The city has installed drainage improvements at the intersection of Cross and 6th Avenue to mitigate historic flooding issues, saving nearly $500,000 in taxpayer dollars by using in-house expertise from Public Works and engineering staff. During rain events, a portion of Cross Street had previously been impassable, flooding 9 to 12 inches deep, standing water remaining for several days. City Public Works and engineering staff surveyed this intersection to determine the best option for improving drainage and reducing driving hazards. The project was originally expected to require installation of storm pipes and structures to mitigate flooding, with an estimated cost of approximately $636,000. However, city staff solved this with an in-house by installing concrete valley gutters for total cost approximately of $143,000. So again, I'm really proud of the work that our staff has been doing. I see Amy back there and her team. They're doing a great job. Brad Highnote and their team coming up with some of these ideas, certainly doing a great job and saving us money and solving things that we have not solved for a long time. But I think that's kind of the culture of where we are now, finally letting our staff sort of get to things where they can solve stuff better. It's been this whole thing we've done about trying to create a culture here that invests in our employees and workers and allow them to find more effective ways to do their job. So I did want to at least highlight some of those things. Mortgage and utility assistance to the City of Pensacola CDBG coronavirus funds. Homeowners in the city of Pensacola with overdue or back mortgage and or utility payments may be eligible for assistance through the city's Community Development Block Grant coronavirus funds. Applications will be available on the City of Pensacola website beginning today, Monday, February 7th, until all the funds have been committed. The City of Pensacola has received CDBG coronavirus funds from the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development in response to the pandemic. Approximately $261,000 will be made available to assist eligible homeowners within the city limits that have experienced the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic with overdue or back mortgage payments or utility payments. Eligible expenses must occur between March 1st of 2020 to today, and the maximum assistance will be up to $7,500 per household to be paid directly to the mortgage or utility company. To learn more and to view eligibility requirements, visit cityofpensacola.com. Finally, something else I think that very proud that we've been able to do. One of the projects we've been able to accomplish since I've been here, and really an investment we've made and tried to do some things a little bit differently. For a long time, we've certainly believed and preached and tried to continue to expand vitality in the downtown area. We think it's one of the things that has been, that has really created a renaissance for Pensacola, especially downtown Pensacola, as we've continued to move forward. But certainly in doing that, we realize some people are not exactly always excited by everything that we've been able to do. We certainly have seen that, some of the stuff that we've tried to implement and the challenges we have with merchants in downtown on Palafox Street, and the desire not to continue to always shut down Palafox Street. So we've worked very hard to create placemaking in other places. One of those places that we thought we came to with a developer with an area that had been sort of underutilized in our downtown. We haven't seen very much north of Garden Street, and we certainly hadn't seen much going east from Palafox on north of Garden. But we did work with a property owner to make some significant improvements on Jefferson Street that we think will be critical to placemaking moving forward. It's also an area that we could shut down very easily and have utilized the street as an area for festivals and a variety of other events. And we think it will prompt very quickly. We already see what is happening on several of the things at Front Garden. We do believe that by the end of the spring, we'll have a hotel under construction in that area, and we're excited to see what will come about of that East Garden district. But if you've driven Jefferson Street, which just opened up, it is impressive to see what has been placed there for the sidewalks, for the additional benefit of what we could do. The street and the way we've done it with the trees, I think it shows what can be done in creating that. I think it really will revitalize and shape, as we're doing it right now, all of East Garden. And there's no reason to think that Garden can't become a more productive player in what we're doing in downtown, and I think both east and west. But I don't think there's any surprise, certainly what we had seen for some time, IHMC discussing improvements they want to make on Garden Street. I think it very much mirrors the efforts that we're currently doing to continue to expand downtown in that East Garden area. And I think we'd love to see what IHMC definitely talked about. I think that'll be a further enhancement as we continue to see East Garden become more significant. And of course on West Garden we see a number of projects, whether it's what happened with the Studer Community Institute building, apartment complexes developing on Garden. We think Garden will continue to be a more significant player. Today we are on Thursday, today at Agenda Review, and then on Thursday we have some stuff coming through that we've gotten a grant with the state of Florida DOT to do some enhancement in the planting and in the garden medians. So again, we're very excited to see what can happen. We will be doing a ribbon cutting project on February the 15th. The City of Pensacola invites the community to a ribbon cutting ceremony on Tuesday, February 15th at 4 p.m. to celebrate the complete streets improvements to Jefferson Street as a part of the East Garden District. Improvements include wider sidewalks with pavers, landscaping, underground power, and new utilities and drainage, road lane narrowing, road resurfacing, and safety upgrades, and more. The ribbon cutting will take place at the intersection of Jefferson Street and Garden. I think it simply goes to show what we can do if we continue to look at placemaking opportunities and how we continue to make other streets, certainly in the downtown area, is viable as what we've seen in Palafox, and we continue to spread that to Jefferson Street and move things further east. And I'm excited to see what we've been able to do. This week we do have a council meeting. Obviously we'll have agenda review today at 3:30, and then the council meeting on Thursday. I know Kareth and I will be leaving to go to Tallahassee. We will be there through the Florida League of Cities, returning on Wednesday, back in time for the meeting on Thursday. But we will be attending through a Teams meeting. We'll be attending the agenda review conference tonight, but I look forward to that. The Florida Department of Health on COVID says that for the week of January 28th through February 3rd, our positivity rate was 25.2%. For comparison, the week before was 32.8%. So we're continuing to see things at least come down with COVID. Our hospitalizations have gone from Friday at 230 to Saturday 222 to Sunday 212 to Monday at 209. So I think we're finally beginning to see some decrease after about a week or so of just hovering. And again, we're excited to see what we do as we continue to work through that. Lastly, I guess there are several things that are somewhat on the agenda, and things that are obviously have been discussed here at several points, and again as they go forward. One of which is that I know has been near and dear here, and some of the other places that we've discussed is certainly the issue of what happens with the council's initiative of wanting to look at a power utility. It's certainly more from beginning to deal with the negotiations on a franchise agreement to certainly looking at taking over. I can again assure you that I don't. As far as I'm concerned, I think this couldn't be a worse time to do it. Certainly in a time where your materials are as high as they've ever been in a material shortage market, when your labor is as short as it is in a labor shortage market, now would be the worst time for us to evaluate that. Again, what I've seen, and I certainly am empathetic and sympathetic to individuals and their power bills. But the interesting thing to me was I talked to Councilwoman Broughton the other day, and she communicated to me that most of the people in her district were not experiencing the same thing, and she had not heard the same impact. And part of it took me a little while to figure out and think about what that may be. That's certainly an older area of our community, an area that really, for most of its heating and other needs, is serviced through natural gas. So in some ways, the city already offers those opportunities. We are a competitor in a lot of ways with Gulf Power, Florida Power and Light, whatever our electrical provider is. We have those things available, and we will continue to do that. I think we've been very focused in providing something that is not only cheaper and more reliable. We certainly think it provides those opportunities. But again, whether or not we do that, we understand that there's a need for electricity in our city limits. We've certainly worked with that for a long time. This all got started by somehow this communication that somehow we were pushing fast to try to bring an agreement to place and to send before you an agreement for the franchise. Again, it took 3 years, and we've gotten nowhere further. And I tell you right now, as I said over the fall, for me, I could care less if we don't have any agreement until after I leave at the end of the next fall, and I don't know why you wouldn't leave it to that point. The issue is, if you want flexibility, a 10-year deal or a 5-year deal is not as flexible as a month-to-month. If you really want flexibility, it's why I've said we don't need anything to necessarily do if it's not going to be good for the city of Pensacola and the citizens of Pensacola. We have been negotiating it ever since the beginning. We haven't come to an agreement because I haven't felt like we were in a good place, that we felt like it was an advantageous agreement for us. And again, as long as that's the case, the agreement we've had and going month to month, it seems like a pretty good agreement to us. It gives us plenty of flexibility to look at things if things change. But we worked with that and tried to find out what we had. I did asked Amy to come back in here today, Amy Lavoie. She has been involved in the negotiation process throughout the whole time. I have not. I get involved in the process when they get to a sticking point and they come to me and they ask us, what can we do? I will tell you, for 2 years, we went through the process. It went over and over again. The biggest sticking point was whether or not the city should be allowed to charge more than 6% for its franchise fee. And I appreciate staff's position, and Amy can certainly convey, and I appreciate her position that in an enterprise situation, the city shouldn't be dictated to what it can do, and I don't disagree in a lot of different ways. But at the same time, that franchise fee, as I think we're all finding out, and I think it's out there more, it doesn't come from some magical place. It comes from the people who live in this community, and it makes power more expensive if we go up on it. I will tell you, this summer, it came down to the point where I finally said, no, we are not going to charge more to our people to make power more expensive. It was just not an issue that I was willing to deal with anymore and let that argument go out there. We did have a chance to meet with the Gulf Power team at one time this summer. Keith and I met with Sandy Sims and Rick Byers, and we met with them, and we actually did feel like we were fairly close. We still had some other things that were dealing with reliability that we sent back, but for the most part, we had kind of narrowed some things down. What came back after that, I thought the legal team at FP&L did a disservice to those negotiations. They really went backwards. They put some petty language in there, like we had to go down to South Florida if we wanted to argue. We couldn't even argue it here, even though we're in the same state of Florida. We couldn't argue it here in Escambia County. We would have to go down there and do all kind of other stuff that wasn't in the agreement before, and really seemed more like a petty negotiation tactic than actually moving it forward. Did I get upset by it? Yeah, I got a little upset by it, and I was not in a happy mood about it. But we did talk back with Rick. We did seem like they were willing to be more flexible and talk, and we could continue to go back. I didn't really care one way or the other. As I expressed to you last fall, it didn't matter to me if we get a deal done, because we have a deal. It's a month-to-month deal. It gives us the most flexibility, and whatever we do moving forward. At this particular time, I think entering into a program, Business 101, in the enterprise zones that we do run, the enterprise departments, which, by the way, have never been more successful, every one of them, than right now in this moment, despite the fact of the pandemic and a variety of other things. Our enterprise things have never been done better, but there's a reason we do that. One of the biggest principles of business is to buy low and sell high. If we were to start to buy a franchise and try to build a franchise at this point, where we know inflation, again, from the pressures of both materials and labor, are the most expensive of any time, all we'll do, as I've said before, we will end up charging you. You think FP&L is charging you a lot for power. City of Pensacola can probably charge you more. We'll find a way we can do that. I don't think that would be productive for any of our citizens in what we do. And so at this particular time, I think it's us trying to look at this and evaluate it. It takes the ball off several things that we can do. I think even though people say, well, golly, what's $30,000 to spend on a study? These are a variety of things that I think we've got to look at. What I do know right now is we have sitting before us, a chance to really look at some sustainability issues with our sanitation. And I know that has been looked at, and they have gone to Mark Jackson, who is hired here to look at sustainability issues for the city of Pensacola. And Mark says this is a real deal. I mean, this is an opportunity that he believes will be successful in creating a more sustainable really service for us and for our citizens. It will cost us about $30,000. We need to run a study to know exactly what's in our waste stream. Been working with John Switzer on this. Apparently the county was looking at it one time. Now they've come to the city. But I've talked to Mark Jackson. Mark has not come to me and said, hey, I think we need to start our own power utility. Again, I would think I would go to the experts of staff and ask them to do that. I've certainly gone to Amy Lavoie, and I've said, hey, what about starting what do you think about starting a new enterprise zone? No, that's not something we need to do at this particular time. Again, nobody's come to me and said, from staff, and said, this is a great idea. This is a political idea, but it's not based in any factual way for something we can do. The other thing that sits before us is a real opportunity we had on Friday, and again, I'm not going to get too much into it because they're still handling it, but we have talked with Baptist Hospital, and there's a really great opportunity to add. If you thought 500, our goal of 500 affordable and attainable units in 5 years, we can do it much faster than 5 years. We can probably do up to 900 potentially workforce and attainable units for housing in what they do. It will require investment from the city. It will require us to put in infrastructure that is there, but it can really change the lives for everything that's right there in that northwest section of the city of Pensacola. It would be a great thing for us to pursue, something that we actually could do to change the trajectory of our community, and it's well within our power to do so. However, it will cost money, and that money won't be there if we choose to pursue things that are not quite as optimal for us to do. There are a host of things that we are evaluating every single day that we work here. We have things that come to us that we have to deal with, challenges. We work through those things, but overall, there is a method to the madness that we do. You've been here with me. You've been with me as we've dealt with issues, dealing with things that I think we've changed dramatically. Our Pensacola Police Department, we went through a lot of issues. People have been very upset about some of the things and the methods that we chose, but we kept saying it's not about the methods, it's about the end goal. And I would ask you to look at the end goal of what we have. While it is unfortunate we've had a couple of shootings here recently, we did manage to arrest either last week or through this weekend all the individuals that are associated with that. In fact, if you end up committing a gun crime in the city of Pensacola, it is likely within a week to 2 weeks we will catch you, we will put you in jail, and we continue to do that. We don't do that because it's magic. We do that because we have the investment from the community, because we've built the relationship between our police and community. Came to us another issue, came forward. Homelessness. How do you deal with homelessness, and how do you take this and do it? We did a number of things that were, any of the stuff that we did at any one time was incredibly critical one way or the other about the things we did. But we didn't get worried about that because we knew the goal at the end of it was to make a better difference in the lives of the individuals. Last week, we moved over 70 individuals into a place that they all communicated was better than where they currently were. It wouldn't have happened without the process we went through. There was a lot of gnashing teeth right here in this press conference about how would we ever do this, what would ever happen. Hell, last Monday, there were 4 TV cameras to sit there and see nobody at Hollis T. Williams Park because nobody believed what we could do. But if you stay focused on goals, if goals are the most important thing that you focus on, you don't get lost in simple tactics. You may do some things that seem a little strange, but they overall tie into what's going on. We have opportunities to create those opportunities for housing and a variety of other things, but not if we squander those opportunities on things that don't make sense for us. I will continue to pursue those opportunities that staff come to me and say, these are ideas how we can make a difference, how we can make our community better for our citizens. Staff really never gets involved with political. They don't really care who serves in what office or what they do. Their job is to simply go create things better for the city. And again, I continue to follow them. We have something coming again before us this week. It's a study for a disparity study in for women. And I will tell you, in the 3 years I've been here, and I don't have the figures right here in front of me, but I know Leah can get them for you from an email that we received from Ted Kircher. We have made a tremendous difference in what we've done in creating a culture that values people, whatever gender, whatever race, and promotes them. We sit here today, I think, it was SES, which is mostly our executive staff. We've had I think it was close to a 48% increase in the number of women. If you look at our chart that I continue to show you every time, you will see women everywhere in what we're doing. We have created a culture that values that, and while I can't say we have women as much as we'd like to see in some of our fields like police, fire, and public works, which have traditionally been more male oriented, out there recruiting. And I would say in 2 of those fields, public works and fire, we actually are run by a woman. So I would say that we are very we are very, I guess, receptive in working in any way we can with what we can do. And I think if you look at the numbers that that Ted has, they would say we are creating a culture that values all individuals who make a difference, regardless of what their gender, race, or anything else. And we will continue to do that. And I think a more productive idea is if council members want to get involved, they can. There are opportunities for them to mentor individuals through programming we have, like Big Brothers, Big Sisters, and they can make a positive difference and show people that whatever gender, whatever race, whoever they are, that there are opportunities for them to work at the City of Pensacola and make things better for our citizens. So those are things we will continue to deal with going forward. But I'm here to answer any of your questions. I also know we had, like I said, we have a few staff members here that certainly could do that, and they'll be happy to answer any questions if I can't answer them. So I'll open it up to you.
Down at the camp?
Yes.
As you know, I was surprised how much stuff is still there, and I had forgotten about the 2-week plan, but ran into a couple of folks who had stuff inside the perimeter that they could not get access to because of the trespassing control. Can you just talk a little bit about what the expectation is for cleanup and getting people back with their possessions if they're still there?
Yes. We knew how much of a challenge cleanup could be, which is why we anticipated it would take 2 weeks. I mean, we spent a lot of time. The notice that we came through was not come through lightly. We thought a lot of these things out beforehand, and we knew it was going to take that. We have a responsibility to protect any of the items of value that are there, and that's why we're doing it. And we had a process that we would allow people, even after we get done with that 2-week cleanup, that we would give people 30 days to come forward and get that. We've worked with some individuals in the camp who we've worked with to try to get things, but I can tell you we won't be going in there to deal with anything during a weekend when we're not there and we don't have an ability for people to oversee it, because again we got to make sure that the stuff that they're trying to take out is actually their stuff, and we have a responsibility to do that. We continue to work with that as much as we can, and we'll do that, but this stuff doesn't happen overnight. I was impressed with how much work got done. I know you made some comments along that way, but I saw several of our citizens that said, no, you would be shockingly surprised at how much we did make a difference in 1 week. But we knew it wasn't a 1-week process. We knew it was a 2-week process. David and his team have done a lot, but we're going to get there, and we're going to eventually get through all of it that we need to do. We'll work with any individuals. I know that Lawrence continues to do that and his team, and we'll continue to do that as much as we need to.
Does this cleanup push back the project? Is it taking longer than expected?
No. We expected it would take this way, and we expect that we will have stuff still stored on the site through I think it was March 17th. Is that the date? 16th, 17th? Yeah. So I mean, that was in our original notice. I mean, we knew that. We kept trying to explain to you that for a long time we've been working on this, and we knew. Sometimes none of this. To me, we didn't come at this. It wasn't like we just woke up on January 10th and said, "Golly, this is what we'll do," and we threw it out to you. I mean, that was a very thoughtful process. I mean, we went through all of it. We bounced off with legal what we could do, how we could do it. We followed other cities, what they had done, and we created it. So, we're going to continue to do what we need to do along those lines to make that happen. And from that standpoint, we're committed to getting everybody's stuff that wanted it. But we said very clearly also, please, when you vacate, please take all your stuff with you. If you don't, we'll work through it. And we've taken extra steps to be able to do that, to separate those things that are value from those things that are trash, and we will have that ready. And we have worked with some individuals to recover that stuff. I would say Lawrence, John Johnson, and Melissa Johnson are really the individuals that they need to work with, and certainly during normal business hours we will work with them in any way we can.
Do you have any, kind of just overall general thoughts on not only getting that area closed down and cleaned up, but also what will the city do to make sure it doesn't find itself in a situation like this again?
Well, Jim, I keep explaining to people, we actually started that. I mean, again, we actually sanctioned and moved people there. It was done with the city from the very beginning. And I can get Casey to pull back up. Last January, I made an announcement at this press conference that we were working with Pathways for or basically the newly formed Coalition for Reducing Homelessness, which was John Johnson and Connie Bookman, to start that process to try to deal with some of the people that were displaced because of COVID, and we just had no shelters down. So I mean, unless the city starts something, I don't see it necessarily getting to that point. I see us continuing to work through the coalition and trying to find ways to expand and create new opportunities for homeless. Listen, homelessness is not over. We moved a bunch of people. We made life better for them, but we didn't stop homelessness. We're going to continue to experience and deal with that. What we need to do is be more willing and creative going forward. One of the things that Dr. Marbert said, he said, we need to put something in our budget. We need to put money every year about what we're going to do to assist and deal with that. We now have some incredible partnerships that we didn't have established very well before. What I continue to say is if we work together collaboratively, the city and all these other organizations, we will be better. If we add the county, if we add Santa Rosa, if we add other cities in Santa Rosa and go beyond that, we will do more and more in collaboration to help homelessness. But again, I don't think we're going to, we're not going to, we haven't stopped homelessness. We didn't win and stop homelessness, but I think we've begun to establish a process that we can better treat it. We've even taken on things like, I think is the very top end of the funnel in moving people out is the whole thing that we did with, group from Charlotte, and it's escaping me right now. But that was a process to build to Lotus to getting people an opportunity to work with private sector to get more places in that are available for individuals to move into that. I think what we're looking at with the potential redevelopment at Baptist Hospital is a tremendous opportunity to do mixed income housing that would really work in the best way. What we know is the truth now about the way we have to do things with housing is we really need mixed income housing, and that's what we desperately need as we move forward. It's more productive for everyone. You can't concentrate all your property in the area, but you can work with it and spread it through and create mixed income, and it's a much more effective way for us to deal with this. But I think that's a great example of ways we can solve better as we go forward in the future. I'm very optimistic that Pensacola and perhaps Escambia County, if they come on board, we can do a better job with how we handle homelessness. But by no means do I think we've solved it, no. But my point was we can create something better. And what started that all is the city actually started. We said, okay, we're going to work with those two organizations to create a place where people can go, because it was getting out of hand where we saw people going. So we did concentrate it there, but again, with any concentration, you have challenges. So we certainly developed some challenges over the year, but we said, please trust us. We're going to work through it, and we managed to do that. And again, it wasn't just the city of Pensacola. While Lawrence and his team were incredibly good in what they did, and all of the people, I can't even begin. The police, certainly Steve Richards, and code enforcement, sanitation, our people in engineering and parks, Brian Cooper, all those people were incredible in what they did. I can't go without saying how none of those departments could have done any of this if it wasn't for John Johnson, Connie Bookman, Melissa Johnson, Vinnie Wibbs. I mean, those teams of individuals, what they did, Melissa and Fearless, John and Opening Doors, Vinnie and Reap, and Connie, we would never have done this. We couldn't have done this at all without them. So, they deserve a huge part of the celebration of why we were successful. But I tried to explain to you what, I don't remember if it was last week or 2 weeks ago when I talked about collaboration. And if we work together, if we take this opportunity to work together, we can be more successful than we've been. John, and then
Mayor, we're starting down the road again over at lots 4 and 5 this week.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to hear from Silver Hills.
not Silver Hills.
I'm sorry. Yeah,
Inspired.
Right. It all runs together over time. But as the council looks at this week, I got a couple of questions about
Yeah.
it. One from you: what does success look like?
Success looks like getting us a development where we can both bring new housing in, but we also create the remaining infrastructure to develop the rest of it, which is the parking garage. Amy Lavoie is also here in the back. She can also answer this question. She's worked very much with us in the modeling for this to be sure that if you notice that what's being done is a 50-50 in the parking garage, 50% for the development and 50% for the city, which either gets our stuff done that we already had promised there or allows us to build additional things there. But again, it's part of the infrastructure we have to do. We know that, whether it was Silver Hills, whether it was the last group that came in, or whether it was the group we have now. Unlike the last group we had, where we were going to build a parking garage, which was badly needed, but there was no income, there was no revenue to do it. This time we have revenue, and what Amy can tell you is, while it's our expectation that we will develop the other sites or we will see other things go, if nothing else ever developed, we could pay for the garage within 20 years and we could get it amortized and we could pay it off. That we can do. So that's why it's all modeled the way it is. That's why we need to bring it to council and show them what we can do. But Amy and Andrew and I have worked to diligently put that together to make it work. We'll bring it to council. But it's also interesting that it brings housing to the table that we need. We desperately need housing at all levels. Certainly, we were very familiar with what we need in affordable and attainable. But I continue to tell you, any new development helps, because people will leave one space to go to another space, and that opens up a space that could be cheaper than what's built there, and then that gives you more opportunity. If we never build another piece with a supply, then we have nowhere else for people to go, and we just have people coming in. We continue to have people coming in because we do great things like what we're doing on Garden Street. It's causing people like IHMC to want to build. It's causing people to bring in the hotel. People are coming. Demand is not our problem. We have created an incredible community that people want to come to. They want to come live here. They want to be a part of this community. But at the end of the day, we got to start figuring out how to deal with the supply.
So Mayor, no doubt demand is booming all over the place. If that's really the case, and we all believe it is, why would we incentivize a developer to put housing on the city's crown jewel of waterfront property?
Because the issue that's going to be there with the infrastructure, there's going to be about $13 million that we've got to put in that we haven't put in yet. And why not get them to pay for that $13 million, which is our half of the parking garage, which really unlocks the future development in that area, John? I mean, why should we pay for that? Why don't we get somebody else to pay for that? And why don't we benefit at the same time by housing creates more vitality and presence in downtown? It's all the things we're wanting to get to, where we can do that, where we can move and live within a shorter array. We need to spend less in gas and driving and tearing up our streets, creating pollution, a variety of other things. All those things can be achieved if we just begin to do this process. So again, it's all focused on long-term goals. We have long-term goals, and yes, our short-term tactics may differ. We may talk about them, but as long as we continue to keep the long-term goal, we'll be successful.
The term sheet in front of council this week talks about density transfers.
Mm-hmm.
Has the city done density transfers before in the CRA districts, and how does that work for the average person to understand?
I don't know that we've necessarily done density transfers, but what I can tell you is the only transfers we are doing in that area are the ones that are already in the Maritime Park. I forget the name of it, the big building that's next to the stadium. All right, there is in a sense, there were so many units per acre that were there, but we gave them a lease to do a commercial property. Therefore, those all get freed up. They can't be used anywhere else. We can transfer that density from that parcel to this parcel. The parcel that we did with Justin Beck, he's got a couple of residential units, but he didn't use all the residential units he has. We can take those residential units and go over. Now, my argument is we're the property owner. If we didn't give him the express, and again, what we gave them in the express lease does not give them any of the use of that density. So we, the city, should be able to take that density and transfer it over. Same thing happens with the space at the hotel. Those aren't permanent residents, so we should be able to take that and transfer over. So the only thing that we have transferred is those spaces that we know will not have other units in. So that's the only thing we've transferred over. The rest of it, we've told them there is a process, and the city council has developed a process by which you can transfer, but the only thing we've given to them right now is those units that we know that haven't been used over at the Maritime Park.
The term sheet also mentions, quote, neighboring properties.
Correct.
Unquote.
The same.
That is across West Main Street?
Correct. We don't control those properties, but the group that is presenting to us has development control at this particular time of the Maritime Park. If they choose to move, there is a process by which they could do that, but we can't require that. We can't mandate that. So we haven't. We have been clear to them. We would give them all of the units at the Maritime Park that haven't been already used. We would give them those. And we would allow them to exercise what council has already put out there as a process if they get there, because we know they have control of this one. But again, we can't demand that, because if they don't end up buying this, then they won't have control of it.
Do you legally believe that the WRD district over there, the zoning district under the West Main plan, constitutes spot zoning?
No.
You
No.
had a lawyer come in to the planning board back in 2019, I was just going over it last night, who said he's looked at all of this. The planning board asked him for an opinion. He's looked at all of it, and he said, I cannot see the public benefit that would justify what appears to be, in his opinion, a spot zoning.
No.
A legal spot zoning.
No. The characteristics by which you have are what you set up. And by the way, John, I'm a big believer, if you read zoning and you really understand it, it is meant to be dynamic. Now, we as individuals create it and make it static, and we think, boy, it's supposed to be like this forever. But zoning is, in the very beginning, things change, communities change. I mean, if you look at cities have done, you go to, I mean, the U.S. we're all fairly modern, but you go to Europe and you see things that have changed dramatically over centuries. Change is supposed to happen. We have a district at the waterfront that has a different opportunity to be, but still settle very much within what's the urban core area. So I think what we did there was exactly what we did. It could have been challenged at any point. It wasn't. We've moved forward with it. Again, we can all have different opinions, but I don't think it in any way it was. And at this particular time, we're moving forward.
Last August, you told us in this room that maybe the best long-term plan for the Maritime Park would be to keep it green and sell the stormwater rights to neighboring properties. Do you still feel that way?
Again, there are anything that we can look at and see different things, but again, I think the worst thing we could do is build something that we don't have the money to take care of. And so, again, if I was looking at the options between doing something that was going to be disastrous financially to the city versus just leaving it open, I would choose open over disastrous to the city. So again, those are the things I would do. We've worked very hard, as I've said. Amy's back here. We've worked very hard to make sure that the infrastructure that we need to add, which is the parking garage, which we've talked about on all three things that have come forward. To get the parking garage, we can do it. We can do it without any additional tax money, anything else. All we have to do is reap both the tax benefit and the rent stream for 4 and 5. Within what we can do that. And then it's lagniappe. I mean, then everything after that you throw in. I mean, we talked with some of the council members. We said, remember, the hotel wants to get 100 spaces and pay you $100 a month. That's $120,000 a year. And again, you don't have to pay anything for that. You've already paid for the garage. That's just money you get to keep in. Now, this council member said, well, wait, that's supposed to go to parking. I said, well, you control that. You do all the money stuff. So if you want to change where it goes to parking, you can change. But I mean, you don't even have the opportunity to look and receive that $120,000 if you don't have the garage. So again, I think those are things you've got to do and look at. So John, I think every chance you do, you got to take and you got to look at what your options are and what you could do better. You've always got to look at your opportunity cost. And yes, if I was going to do something that was a financial disaster, I would say keep it a green space. If I've got something that takes care of my financial position, I'm like, yeah, let's do it. And that's what we work on.
What would the dollar value of those stormwater rights be?
It depends on what you would do and what they were willing to do. What it would allow you to do is build up more significantly this property. But if you use development over here, you can't sell them back over. So this is going to be less developed. So again, it really depends on what you do. So the value of those rights would really depend on what you could do with other uses around there and sell them to. Again, it's like a market. It's only as valuable as somebody's willing to pay you for them. Again, your whole hope is that you buy low and you sell high. So I think if we do that, we position ourselves in the city. The problem is when you put politics in, sometimes people like to buy high and sell low. That's a dumb strategy. That's why you shouldn't put politics in anything that you do enterprise. You gotta look at it on sound principles, business principles.
Mayor?
Yes.
In light of the Pensacola officer-involved shooting last week, do you have any concern that PPD says SWAT officers don't wear body cam footage or cameras? Is this something you would support if the council asked for more funding for these officers?
Again, I'll certainly haven't had a chance to talk with Chief about that. I know that a round went off, but it wasn't discharged in any other area. I know that they were also shot at, and if they hadn't had protective gear, we would be down. We would have one less surviving officer at this particular time. I do know that. So I haven't. Chief hasn't talked to me about that, and I'll be happy to talk with Chief about that any further if he felt like there was something that we needed to have done on that. But I do know I have seen the shield and I have seen the bullet mark on it, and I do know that would hit that officer. He would have gotten shot right through the eye. And I can't say that he'd be dead, but I think that's where he would be. But I'm much more happy that we saved life, and it's a dangerous job, and I understand what happens and what we do. And by the way, I'm not aware that we shot anybody. I know we had a round go off.
So are you concerned at all that the SWAT officers don't wear body cam footage?
That hasn't even come up to me. I'll be happy to talk with Chief at any time about it. What I do know is I'm glad we saved the life of that officer by having that shield there. That was good. Yes?
Back to the homeless issue for a minute. A couple of things moving forward that you said would be important moving forward, like collaboration with the county, or even just a continual participatory partnership between all these organizations that have participated in the process. How do you assure that? I mean, not even funding wise, but just how
Jeremy, I think success breeds success. I think the people who are there for the benefit, the people who join the organizations and do the work, they do the work because they want to see people helped. When they see people helped, and we got 70 people who, everything I know from Channel 3 going out there and everybody else asking them, they're all like, hey, we're in a much better spot. And when we get actually to a place with a full roof over our head, we'll be in definitely a better spot. So I think when they see that, the people who are dealing with these organizations will want to continue to work with the city. Now, again, I have no idea what's going to happen with the rest of the jurisdictions. One, I don't know that our experience is going to actually make them want to do it. I mean, I think we have been successful. I don't think it was portrayed as successful. I think there was a variety of things by which I think you as the media have the ability to sell the narrative, but I think you did not sell a very good narrative because you made it. Everyone ended up attacking the one individual who was trying to help, and I don't know that will make them want to do it. But I think at the same time, if they see success coming, they will want to join a part of it. As I've said before, the most interesting thing about dealing with homelessness advocates sometimes is the only person they attack is the person who's trying to help them. And I think if they could see other parts of it, it doesn't happen like that everywhere else. In fact, I think if you look at the Tallahassee story, there's very much a success model run on that, where the public got behind it. It really was a county initiative, and the city participates in it because the county had success with it. I mean, if those things happen, I think it will happen. But success begets success. And if you sell the success story, other people will want that because they will want to see the success in it. So I think that's the way you try to do it. I think from at least the partners, I think the partners are bought into working with the city because they see there was success for the individuals. I think the city is bought into working with the partners because they and their staff see how the success works. So the question is whether, I think what happens with the community at large very much depends on how you see it and how the rest of the community sees it. But that'll shape probably more of where the narrative goes from here is how it's portrayed. Jim.
On the utility issue, going back to your negotiations with Gulf Power and the Florida Power and Light, where did those stand on the right to purchase being included in the agreement? That was made a point at the workshop 2 weeks ago. Where were they on?
I have no idea. That was not necessarily a part we were looking at. Again, if there's something for a long time, I think Keith Wilkins' position was there may be areas we had not thought about in the negotiation, and he had mentioned that. But again, are we talking about wanting to negotiate a better contract and a better franchise agreement? Or are we wanting to start a different utility? Two different things, Jim. And I think they would really go in two different directions. I think that's what Keith was speaking to when he talked about that, because I don't think that necessarily was something we were necessarily thinking about. We were thinking about reliability and undergrounding. We were thinking about renewables, and we were thinking about price. Those were all things we were thinking about. But if there's some other way that we didn't think about, then those are certainly things we can go back and have that discussion. But at this particular time, what we're now talking about is forming our own utility company in the middle of the highest potential shortage for materials and shortage for labor, which would seem like a crazy time to want to go do that.
Can I get your thoughts on Councilwoman Barrera's comments, basically saying that Florida Power and Light, had a fire lit under them when this municipal utility study came about, and has now done 2 undergrounding projects, or has 2 undergrounding projects planned, whereas they had none. Do you think this is spurring them at all?
I don't know one way or the other what it has done with Florida Power and Light. I haven't really been involved with them. From our side, it hadn't changed anything. I mean, as I've said before, I said, Councilwoman Barrera, I thought it was the craziest thing she ever said when she said, we're trying to rush a deal because I spent 3 years and I'm perfectly willing to go 4. 10 more months, that's all I got to do, and I get 4 years of not getting it done at all. So I'm perfectly happy going in that direction.
What's the advantage of any deal if Florida Power and Light said they'll do it anyway?
Jeremy, do you remember how I started this? Why do we need a deal? I like the month to month. It gives you the most flexibility in the beginning. It's what I've been pushing. I like just going, let's go like this and let's go like this for another 10 months. We don't need to do this. If you're gonna have any discussion, let the people figure that out, what they want to do in the next election. I'm in nothing. I see Councilwoman Myers in the back, and I'll be very clear. She sent me an email. She's like, the council cannot do this. And I'm like, I absolutely agree with you. The council has no right to do this. It doesn't stop the council from having discussions about politics. I mean, those happen all the time. Politics they certainly don't create good business, and they they don't necessarily create good things for your community. So we're having these political discussions. I don't know what Gulf Power is doing one way or the other. I do know that they put up, they started different things with solar without us doing any of this stuff. So, I mean, you know, there were some things in line that they've done there and they've slowed down. I mean, there are other issues that we worked with them. We did all the undergrounding with East Garden. We did that work with them without even getting to this point. And so all that was done. So I don't know what Gulf Power's done or Florida Power and Light's done one way or the other. Am I happy with everything Florida Power and Light's done? No, I'm not. In fact, I'm actually a competitor of Florida Power and Light, and I will continue to say, if you want cheap prices on heating and you want reliability, choose Pensacola Energy. That's a commercial right now that we're going to run. I hope all of y'all take that same commercial and put it in out there to the rest of the people. We need you to carry that out there to it. But you know, that's what we continue to push. I mean, we think what we do at Pensacola Energy is a good thing. But I will remind you, I've seen crazy stuff written by people on Facebook that say if the city takes over this, they are somehow going to give people free electricity. We run a utility. I see Amy here. I don't see Don here, so I don't know. Do we give away our energy? Do we give away our natural gas? No, we apparently do not give away our natural gas. But we do price it in a way that is consistent, and we hope we get customers. But you know, we're also subject to the market. If natural gas prices go up, we have to charge more for what we do. But I think it's a good option. It's a good option to have out there, and I hope more people will use it. I was glad for Councilwoman Broughton that many people in her district use gas, and it's been able to keep them from seeing some of the significant run up in electrical costs.
I may have missed this last week, but can you talk a bit about what Councilwoman Myers was saying in regards to the franchise fee? And
I don't know. She's here. I don't know what she said to the franchise fee, but I do know she sent me an email that said the council cannot do what they're doing, and I said, you're exactly right. They can't make us create a utility. That would not be the way they can. They can't come from that particular area. So you're welcome to talk to her after you leave and find out.
What she, and she's here, she can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think what she is saying is the city is charging citizens a franchise fee while not having a franchise agreement.
No, we have a franchise agreement. It's month to month. We have a franchise agreement. It's month to month franchise agreement.
Okay.
If
Is that a franchise agreement, or is that
it's a franchise agreement. So it's a rental agreement. If you rent somewhere and you stay renting somewhere and you say it's legal in the state of Florida, as a realtor, I know those are legal. Month to months are absolutely legal. That's a franchise agreement. So we have a franchise agreement. It's a month to month franchise agreement. And if you don't change it this month, you know what? Same terms go into next month. If you don't change it that month, they go into the next month. That's what a month to month agreement is. So we do charge a franchise fee. What we just talked about for 2 years, and Amy's welcome to come forward and she can verify this, staff very much wanted the ability and thought that it was fair for the city to, in a free enterprise situation, ask for more money from the franchise fee. You know who said, no, we're not going to do that? Me. I said, we are not going to charge any more than 6%. I said, that's what it was. I said, we're not going to do it. So, yeah, we have a franchise fee. I've already said I'm not going to raise it. I will not be mayor after November. At that point, if somebody else wants to do something else, I can't control it. But I can tell you, until November, there will be no increase in franchise fee. And as Councilwoman Myers has said, there will not be a new enterprise here until that time. Now, I can't control what happens when I leave. But again, these are all things that are there. If people want to introduce new ideas, if council members want to discuss new things that we should have placed in a franchise agreement, I'm more than happy to work with anybody on that. But that's not what we're discussing. We're discussing, does the city become the electrical utility provider? That I'm not so sure that we need to do. In fact, I'm pretty sure we don't need to, and I've outlined a pretty good reasons for why you wouldn't from a financial perspective of where we are at this particular time. If we're in a very low-cost environment, it would be worth our while perhaps to look at leveraging to go forward. But again, you can bring Amy up here. She's in finance. I mean, to leverage yourself when prices are at the utmost, most expensive would be a pretty bad time to go forward with that strategy. It would not be a significant way to pay off very well for yourself. All right, thank you very much.